The same.
Welcome to another episode of Queen 3 King. I am your host, King Doc. You see them. We got the three queens in the building, and we also have our special guest therapist, LaToya Carter. You see all those acronyms and initials and all that. I don't know what it means, but that means she's somebody. She done went to somebody's school. That's what it means. She know what she's talking about. So we'll figure out exactly what she's talking about later as we discuss secrets and lies. A lot of this will be based on communication within your relationships, especially your marriages and whatnot. We will start our introductions here, and then we'll go on to Mrs. Carter. We are working through some technical difficulties out of Anna, Texas. I don't know that we still have her. Um, Okay. All right. But we're going to start this in reverse. We're going to start our introductions with our baby queen, Mama Lee, formerly known as Blake Mama. Now she's fully entrenched as Bronx's mom, and Blake is been forced to fend for herself like the.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Talk to him, Queen.
Hello, everybody.
She got a lot of energy. Oh, yeah. She had a date night this week. So.
I got my refill. Bless you.
Can I get a
all right. And next, still in an imbroglio with the state of Oklahoma and the city of Tulsa specifically. Let's just come into a resolution. This is the educator, Meba TT. What up, Queen?
Good evening, everybody.
And we can see the seasoned queen, but we cannot hear her now. So we're trying to work through those difficulties. We'll keep testing that until we get her. And then on to our special guest, the therapist, LaToya Carter. She is an author. She has written a book, and we're going to get into that a little later. As a therapist, she holds a space for people to heal through depression, anxiety, and of course, couples therapy. And she's doing a better job at her bio than I am. So, LaToya, tell us what the folks need to know.
Hi, everybody. First of all, thank you all so much for having me. I'm super excited to get into it with you all this evening. So professionally, I'm a licensed professional counselor. I have my own practice here in Dallas, Texas. It's all virtual. And then personally, I'm a wife and I have 3 children.
Awesome. And then your husband's name is Jeff, been married for about 8 years.
It has been 8 years. We've been together 10, married 8.
Yeah, see, I did my homework.
Does Jeff have friends? Does Jeff have friends?
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Hit me up. Let me see if it's one that I can think about. Yeah, hit me up.
Come on and shoot your shot season.
We shooting all shots.
Hello. You're gonna miss all the ones you don't take now.
Okay.
Hello.
All right. So again, our topic is secrets and lies. I have posted in the chat. If you're on Facebook, please click on that link to give Facebook permission to be able to show your name, so we can know exactly who's commenting. If you're in the chat room, I see we got some people already there and watching. So if you're there, let us know who you are, so we can give you a shout out. And we're gonna dig right into it. Depending on the flow, we'll get into some streets of talking as well. So most of the questions that I pose to Ms. Carter will be based on either her book or interviews that I've seen her do on other podcasts and whatnot. And Mika, Lily, Nikki, when your sound is there, what y'all can do is just simply jump in. If she says something of interest, or if you want her to elaborate on a particular subject, or if it brings a question to mind, just feel free to just jump in and ask it. For those of you listening, understand we are also on Roku. We're live on Roku. Just search BS3 TV and download accordingly. If you're watching on YouTube, please click subscribe, hit that like button, hit the notification bell, and we would appreciate your support. Okay, so the first thing I want to start with, Ms. Carter, is emotional labor in a relationship. You said this and I almost fell out of my chair before. Emotional labor in a relationship. What is it, and how should we consider this as a factor in our relationships?
Emotional labor is everything, the work, the nurturing of running your relationship. So how you love on your partner, how you love on your children, who's responsible for, like, if somebody's crying, who's responsible for reaching out to that child? If somebody is hanging from the ceiling, who does that? That's the emotional labor. I think a lot of times when we think about being tired in romantic relationships or being tired with our children, we think about being on a job, but we forget that being in a marriage and running a house is a job. So it's not necessarily anything that's bringing finances. It's everything else that's making the home and the family run. That's what emotional labor is. And how does that play into it, or how do we have to consider it? I think you consider it just how you consider, oh, mommy's tired because they've been at work all day. Well, daddy can be tired because he was with the kids all day. You consider it the same way you would a job. And I think that piece gets lost sometimes because you can't always see the return of investment on it. Like if I go clock in, you see my paycheck. But if I'm kissing boo-boos or like putting hair in ponytails or whatever I'm doing, you can't always see the return. So I think it gets lost sometimes.
Okay. And on the Marriage is Real podcast, you had talked about how we need to give that consideration whenever we're dealing with our partners as to what we expect from them. Talk about that a little bit more, what we expect from them in terms of what exactly.
Sometimes, like if you've had a hard day, we'll say at the office, when you come into the home, you think everybody's supposed to cater to you, but they could have had a hard day at the house. And you got to consider that when you're like wanting them to jump to your needs and like, oh, nurture me, care for me, because I was out working. They were in working. And so I just think that has to be given an equal amount of weight. Maybe they can't cater to you because they've been catering to the kids all day. Maybe they can't rub your feet, but you came home to a clean house. Did you consider that? A lot of times we're so focused on what we don't see, or they didn't cook, or they didn't do this, but what did they do? Give that some consideration.
Right. I'm sure Damien asked this question, but I'll ask it to you because Damien, he gets quick to the sex questions. I try to get into him slowly.
He said the other week, because that's what I like. Because said, why you always gotta? He said, because that's what I like.
I like it.
But what I like about it is that he's trying to evolve in terms of how he thinks about it, and he tries to give some consideration. So to me, where the men would need some assistance at is understanding what emotional labor is and how that may affect their wife's desire to be sexual that night, changing roles, et cetera, et cetera. Expound on that a little bit for us from
emotional
a sexual
labor
aspect.
Drains your sex drive. Let me just say it as blunt as I can. If you've been running the house, paying bills, figuring out where money needs to go, fooling with children, cooking, cleaning, all that, you're exhausted. You're tired. You don't want to do it. So we got to give somebody some leeway, right? Like we have to give cadence to like they've been working too. Like that matters. I'm not saying you can't say this every day. Like you can't be emotionally tired every day.
Right.
You gotta get some energy somewhere. But I think some grace is needed when we're talking about emotional labor.
But from a man standpoint, right? If this is becoming a problem for you, and your wife is saying, "I'm tired," an easy way to be able to remove that obstacle is to dig in and get a piece of that emotional labor.
Absolutely.
So
wash some dishes.
So Lily, let me ask you this.
Do some laundry.
Help with some homework, get their clothes ready tomorrow.
Something.
And I'm gonna tell you another
thing. And that's the turn on.
Yeah.
If you're taking something off my plate,
it absolutely
is a turn on.
Especially if your love language is deeds.
Acts of service.
Yes, acts of service. Yeah, absolutely.
That's not mine. I like you to hit me on my butt, but
wow, that ain't even. That's physical touch. I was going to say that ain't even one of the damn love languages. That's
I have a few though, but mine is one of my main ones is acts of service.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask you something, Lily, after I get some of these comments. So we got Charlotte in the building. She says, "Good evening, everyone." Good. And then we got CJ talking about, "I was waiting to get to this part."
I bet you he was.
All right. Okay, so Lily, so I've noticed that Brandon does a fantastic job. You know, for those of you who don't know, Brandon is Lily's husband. He does a fantastic job of, you know, helping out with the kids.
Absolutely.
You know, seeing to, you know, when I say giving Blake time, so Blake's out of your hair, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, giving you time to go have a mommy day, et cetera, et cetera. How did y'all get to that point? Is this something naturally that he did, or is this something you had to have a discussion with him about?
I think it was kind of trial and error a little bit. At first, we had to kind of learn, especially when we had kids and brought kids into the equation. We had to kind of learn that balance.
Yeah.
But it also took communication, because what I used to do, and I said this before, I was the shutdown queen. I would be mad because I've been dealing with the kids all day. I've went to work, I'm cooking, I'm cleaning, and it looked like he just came home and just got to sit down because they going to bed at that time, you know, because he works 12-hour days. But I had to communicate, like, okay, this is what I'm feeling. And I've learned that it's really, I think this has been the best postpartum experience that I've had after Bronx, because I've been more vocal
Yeah.
with stating what I need. And I think that we put too much pressure on our husbands just to know what we need, instead of opening up our mouth and communicating, hey, this is how I'm feeling today. And I'll even some days he'll text and say, hey, how's your day going, in the middle of the day? And I'll be like, I'm overwhelmed, or I'm exhausted, or I haven't slept, or whatever it may be. And he's asking right then, what can I do to help? And he's at work.
Perfect.
So I think it's just about that trial and error and learning to communicate.
Okay. We got the season queen in. Speak to us, see if we can hear you.
Hey y'all.
All
Y'all can
right.
hear me
Okay, we
now?
got her. We
Yes.
got her. We got her. So we got Nikki Mama's in the building. She says,
Don't do our mama
Hello,
like
this is
that.
Wilma.
let's see, she goes, hello, this is Miss Wilma.
Miss
Hey,
Wilma.
wow,
Hey, mama.
that's our
Hey,
mama.
Miss
Hey, mama.
LaToya.
Hey, Miss Wilma.
And CJ Boy says, shout out to Brandon. You got a good one.
Absolutely.
And whoever this Facebook user is says, amen, Alicia. They didn't give Facebook permission to use their name. And then, of course, CJ, who's got it hot.
Not too much.
Even though CJ got his own wife and kids over there, he got it out for our mama for some reason.
Not too much on my mama, CJ.
Yeah, she don't mess
Would you
with
say there's
her
too many?
again.
There's too many Y's on that. Hey, huh?
Okay.
Yeah. Too many wives.
All right. So we're gonna get back to communication, because there's, again, this is secrets and lies, and we're gonna talk a little bit about porn a little later. And is it a? Oh yes, we are. If you don't want to be here, you can hang up. Hey, like, we don't care. So, but before we get to that, I'm gonna ask you, Ms. Carter, sexuality. Is there still a matter of fact? I'm gonna start with Lily on this, and then I'm gonna go to you. Okay. Sexuality. Is there still a negative stigma surrounding sexuality in this country?
I think so. I think that if we think about some of the things that we see on TV, I hear a lot of people saying they just forcing this on us, or forcing different relationships. They're getting more casual on commercials, and you seeing that whole dynamic change. So I think it's still a negative stigma attached to that, because some people don't like that put in front of them or their kids, for whatever matter. So I think so, sure.
Okay, Mika, is there still a negative stigma surrounding sexuality in this country?
Absolutely. And if I can, I mean, one of the things I was listening to a podcast last week with Erica Campbell, you know, and a lot of Black people, we're in church. That's where we get our teaching from. And she said a lot of people are uncomfortable with it because we don't address it in the places we are comfortable with. So she made a point to say Christianity is uncomfortable with sexuality, which makes a lot of people uncomfortable. And we can't address it because people think it's a negative thing, and it's not when addressed properly.
Well said.
Darling Nikki, is there still a negative stigma surrounding sexuality in this country?
Yes, it definitely is. And I've actually had a conversation with a couple of people about that, because some of their kids are going through things with regards to their sexuality, and they don't really understand it and how to comprehend it. And a lot of them have been getting bullied at school, or at the church, even at the church house that they attend, and not things of that nature. So it is a lot for to just push on everybody. And some of the kids are having a difficult time, as well as the parents.
Okay. All right. You're listening to Queen 3 and King. You're watching Queen 3 and King, Secrets and Lies, with our special guest therapist, LaToya Carter. And she bad. She bad. She bad.
I'm sorry, dancing.
So now to you, Miss Carter, sexuality. Is there still a negative stigma surrounding sexuality in this country, and how are you seeing it in your walk of life?
Yes, there is still a stigma, a very negative stigma. And how am I seeing it? I'm seeing all ends from A to Z. I'm seeing it. So we have some people who are uncomfortable with different walks of life being put out. There are people who are pretending that they're in one walk and they're in a different walk and they're struggling with that. There are people who have lived one walk and now they're in a different walk. So it's just, and I think the reason there's a stigma is because it's so unknown. People, we just don't talk about it, and people fear what they don't know. And so if it hasn't been talked about and you're the first one in your family or whatever, and it's just not familiar, people just won't talk about it. And that's what's keeping the stigma alive.
Yeah, so that's a good angle to this. What's keeping it alive? Considering, think about how much sex is out there, and if I were to say the term "sex sells," it's not. You're not going to look at me and say, "Man, you're a genius. You just came up with that." We've already heard it. We've all heard it, right? Frequently. So with that being the case, sex sells, and you see it everywhere. And you got one of the most popular rappers out there. Used to be a stripper for how many years, right? You know, and Cardi B, and you know, and you look at the Doja Cats that are where "Who's My Girl," get into it. Yeah,
I know she is a girl.
So, but my point is that, you know, it's still there, right? Mary J, when she came out for the Super Bowl show, she wasn't in no Shirley Caesar dress.
Was it?
So my point is, with it being out there as bold and as big as it is, you know, let's think about just the way folks are dressing out there now. That isn't that's not just the way I dress. That is me representing a sexual culture, right? So with that being the case, and it being so wide open on one side of the spectrum, why is there still a negative stigma considering all that?
Because I think people are more comfortable with one type of sexuality, and I think just to be open and get it out, people are okay with heterosexual sex. People are fine with that. It's when it starts to do other things that people get uncomfortable.
I get freaky. Bring it in.
But I think another point with sexuality is if parents made it more comfortable for their kids to talk about it and to express their sexuality, you know, and be not open, but be able to come to them and communicate about it, because I think it would make it less scary. Because I'm telling you the truth, I talked to my mama about sex when I was, you know, younger, and, you know, telling her, you know, I had interest and all that stuff, and she talked to me about it. Now, I don't know what she did with Nikki and Tig them. She would probably whoop them, but because we had a different Wilma.
Well, I didn't need no help. I had twins my girlfriend got pregnant with twins when I was 17, so I
didn't need my advice.
Figured it out.
He threw that out the window.
No, but you know, Mama talked to me about birth control. We went to the doctor. We did all of it.
Because she knew you was fast. She figured she had to.
No, she didn't. And y'all, I wasn't fast. I done had. Now they Tig, I'll cuss you out.
See, you got anger issues. You might need to talk to Therapist Carter after the show and set up a one-on-one. Hey, you need a one-on-one.
Don't put our
But
business
y'all
out
bring
there
a
like
good point.
that.
I'm gonna get some of the chats out of the way, but then we're gonna talk a little bit more about communication. That's a great natural segue into the birds and the bees conversation because that's one of the ones I had. And again, the topic of the show is secrets and lies because there are secrets and lies in all of this. There's secrets and lies in the way we had that birds and bees conversation. There's secrets and lies between husband and wife, right? That we don't necessarily want to talk about because we think it may hurt their feelings, but is it a big deal? And could it strengthen your relationship if you go ahead and reveal the secret, et cetera, et cetera? So we'll get back into that once we catch up on some of these comments. So we got H-Rap B in the building. He comes right off of his podcast onto the show every week, and we appreciate it. He says, good
Thank
evening,
you,
family.
H-Rap.
Mama says, Mr. Brandon Vowles is on it. And she goes, hey, Mrs. Carter.
Hey.
Thank you.
And this is the other Mrs. Carter, not that one. And CJ says, I feel like maturity plays a major role as well, right?
Yes, definitely.
And then the most important comment he's made, he says, I love Cardi B and bruh. She freaky in real life. I went on to a concert back in the day and Van Dog, she bad, bro. Yeah, I know. So, Miss Carter, we're going to talk in terms of the birds and the bees conversation, right? Because I think I heard you or Damien, one of the two, state during his show, you said because the boy becomes a man and the girl becomes a woman, how important are the birds and bees conversation and at what age and things of that nature? So talk to us a little bit about the birds and the bees conversations. What advice would you give our viewers on how they should have it? Is there an age consideration? What should it include, et cetera, et cetera?
I think it's all about the age. I'm not going to talk to my 17-year-old the same way I talk to my 7-year-old. So I think whatever the conversation is, it has to be age appropriate. It has to be in a way that the child can understand it. I do think the birds and the bees conversation is important just because how else are they going to know? Like, are they going to learn from porn? And if you learn from porn, I'm not judging, but we all know that that's not real. So if you don't have the conversation, then they have this expectation of what sex is, and it's wrong. And so you're just sending them out into the world with this misguided information. So I do think the conversation is important. I think the age just depends on the child. Everybody matures differently, and I feel like as a parent, you know your child, you know when the walk gets a little different for the females, and I don't know what it is for the males yet because my oldest son is 7, so I'm not really sure what that looks like, but I think you know your child and you know when it's time to say something. And as far as what to say, I guess that's based on your own values and your own belief system. So I'm not even gonna lie to my kid and be like, don't do it till you get married. I think that's best.
Yeah.
But if she do the math, she know that's not what I did. So I think what you say is based on your own values and your own beliefs.
Yeah, so you don't want to be a do as I say, not as I did.
Exactly.
That don't even work.
Yeah.
No.
That does not work.
Okay, so Season Queen, how did you handle as a parent, how did you handle the birds and the bees conversation in your household?
Well, my son didn't give me the chance to talk to him about it.
He took out his uncle.
Huh?
He took out his
just
uncle.
like his uncle. But I did just exactly what she said about with your kid. You know your child. You know what kid is doing what and what kid isn't. And as a matter of fact, you really got to pay close attention because I just assumed that he was just going through different, he just started acting out and doing certain things. So then I still didn't get it at that point until another man told me that's what was going on, is that he's been engaging or whatever. So at that point, then that's when I had the conversation, but it was already too late. But with the girls, it was a little bit more easier, I guess. And I still talk to Kenyana about stuff as we hear things on the radio, because I like to listen to the music that she listens to, so I know what she's doing and all that kind of stuff. So we listen to those songs together. So I talk to her about things as I hear things on the radio station, on these, when they play the different songs that have subliminal messages behind them that she may not understand, but I know what they're talking about. So I try to explain it to her and let her know what the real deal is. So each kid is different, in my opinion.
You be asking her if she doing the twerking later?
No, not that. Not yet.
It's time for twerking later.
Y'all leave my baby alone.
So yeah, we're talking. I don't know if you heard us while you stepped away, Lily, but we're talking about the importance of the birds and bees conversation because that little boy becomes a man and that little girl is going to become a woman.
Right.
So that conversation is necessary, and obviously one that either you're considering having, or have had, or whatever. So
We got into step one. On the
Yeah.
girl side of things.
Yeah.
We got into step one, but it's honestly we have to have the conversation sooner than later because these kids are out there hard to
Yeah.
where I'm like at 11, 12, I wasn't thinking about some of the stuff that
Mm-mm.
Cadence is talking about happening at school and dating and all that. I'm like, what? 11, 10? But the conversation is definitely something that you have to have sooner than later.
Right.
Okay, and Mika, so from an educator standpoint, what are you seeing in the schools that that appears to be
That
affected
look
by
tells it all.
these birds and
For
bees
real.
conversations? Either they not having those conversations, or they're having them too late, or not having them at all. What are you seeing?
I think as an educator, and what we seen in school, we have to lock bathrooms. Let's just put it like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
School day.
Yeah.
So we lock restrooms. When I was on campus, we were locking restrooms and we would open them up during passing periods. So you can go to the restroom or whatever then. But these kids, when I say I don't think they're I don't think, like you say, they haven't been given the guidance that they needed, and they're rushing into things, or they're having intercourse in inappropriate places. But like you said, but like Alicia said, the sooner the better. You can't, me and Mama had that conversation when I was 17 years old, about to go to college. These kids got to have them at 10, 11, and 12 because they are getting exposed and or doing it at that age.
And they don't really understand the consequences that come with that. Once you open that door, sometimes you can't turn back because it's been really young girls that I've seen like, is that little girl pregnant? And walking into school, little bitty something. You can tell they're immature because most of the time they haven't even fully formed yet. You know that they're childish and don't understand the consequences behind their actions.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that we don't hear, Nikki can account for this and say somebody is upset over there, ain't they?
That's at my house. I can hear them, and they're getting closer and closer to my door. I'm like,
let me just explain something. On Queen3 and King, we do not hide from what the hell is going on at our house. And I can tell she was looking like, damn, I hope they think that's Lee. For a second, it did sound like Blake hollering at somebody.
I thought Blake was arguing with Cadence.
It sounded like it.
And it's going to be on.
Wow. So let me segue into this, LaToya, because you made a comment about porn when you were on Marriage is Real. You said porn addiction, or did you just get caught? And I'm segueing right from that birds and bees conversation and the impact on what that may have and what type of exposure these kids are having to when they become an adult. And then because again, porn back in the day used to be a rated R movie on HBO or Skinamax, late night, or Taxi Cab Confessions, some shit like that. Or a
I used to
look at that. Not a hot ass over that time. She couldn't even hide that.
That was her show.
When you said it, she said, that was my shit.
Yeah. You already knew about the birds.
Before she wanted it to. She didn't expect it to look like that. But it brought up some stuff that's been there in the recesses of her mind.
Hilarious.
But anyway, so, and then how they're exposed to this, because it's so readily available. If you got a smartphone, you can go to, a porn site or whatever. So talk to me a little bit about that, LaToya. Porn addiction, or did you just get caught?
So it really just sends me over the edge when couples come to me and the guy or the girl got caught watching porn and they're like, yeah, I have an addiction. Because addiction is so much bigger than just getting caught, right? Like people want to say addiction because now, addiction is being talked about in the news and they think they're going to get sympathy and they won't get left because, I have this problem, please help me. But is it really an addiction? Because an addiction is something that's going to impact all your major life roles. Addiction is something that you're going to do even when it's dangerous. If you're doing it at night when she's asleep, like that's not dangerous. You just had some free time. If you're still able to maintain your whole life and it's not causing any like issues in your major life roles, by definition, it's not an addiction. And so I think sometimes people are so easy to say, oh, I got a problem, I have an addiction because they got caught.
And I always
instead of just saying, I like porn, like just say that.
Yeah.
I always wondered that because you hear people say it so much now, like, oh, I was addicted to porn. I'm like, how do you know that you are addicted to porn? Or like, how do you decide that on your own?
Yeah.
If you're
it's
addicted?
A whole like list of criteria.
Yeah.
It's not just, oh, I'm married and I did it and now I'm addicted. No, you just like it and you got caught. Like,
And so again, the topic is secrets and lies. So that's one of those secrets that and lies that you might just need to communicate with your spouse, because who knows, that may open up a whole another chapter for you. So you can get like some of the at your marriage, back in your marriage, right?
Right. Bruh, I was about to say.
Yeah, I was trying to dance around that.
I seen you.
Tiptoe.
Yeah, back in your marriage. So, come right out and say it. Again, she said something very clearly. Is it an addiction, or do you just simply like it? And if you like it, have that conversation. Because like I said, if you married the right one, that should be a conversation you should be able to have, right? And you should be able
like it too.
That's right. They may like it, and at the very least,
it might be their secret.
They may be able to. That's right. Y'all both might be watching separately, and y'all wasting electricity. Shit, y'all should be watching together.
You could open thine mouth.
Yes.
But at the very least, you can establish some boundaries, and she can get an understanding of okay, what the deal is. Why do you watch it? What do you get out of it? What do you think? How does it affect you? And it may actually allow you to see it in some ways that you didn't see it before. But again, I think that will help get rid of that stereotype. So Dr. Carter, when we get back, we're going to talk about your book, and it is the Wife's Guide to Beating the Side Chick. Is that right? Is that the proper title?
Come on.
Yeah, so we'll talk a little. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about that after we go to Miss Lili's segment.
The streets are talking.
Lily, what you got?
Hey y'all. So I tell you what I don't got. I don't have the energy for anything Will Smith or Chris Rock related. So we're gonna move right on past that.
Not today.
Sick of talking about it. But yeah, so let's get into Mr. Channing Crowder. He is a ex NFL player, I believe, and he's a podcaster on the Pivot. So he is receiving some backlash because he jumped out the window. Yes, here he is right here. He jumped out the window saying that Sierra is only with Russell because of his money, that Russell Wilson is a square, and had he not had any money, she would have looked the other way. So it sparked a lot of debate on Facebook, people going back and forth. Because they say, how do you go from a Future who has a number of baby mothers to Russell Wilson, who is this God-fearing,
come on, Jesus,
paid sweetest pie man, right? How do you make this transformation? Some people were saying that when you know better, you do better. So that could have been one of Sierra's thing. He also said that he was super corny. Like he pretty much called Russell, he's corny, he's a square, is basically what he said. But a lot of people are saying that if you know better, you do better. Because she realized that, look, I was engaged. I slipped up and had a baby with the wrong guy. And how many people do we know that have done that, right? But she also learned that this is not what I want for my life. And she went after something different. Other people are saying that he is right on target. So I definitely wanted to get you guys' take on it. Do you think that Sierra went after the bag, or did she just make a different life choice for her and herself?
First of all, corny is subjective. Who's who's to tell me that who I'm with is corny? In my eyes, he might have been what I've been looking for, and I just tripped and stumbled and ended up with people like Future and all that good stuff. Number two, when you like they said, when you know better, you do better. I'd rather have a square than a Future.
Okay.
Have y'all
I'm
looked
telling
at
you,
him, bro?
he has no future.
He has no
future.
Future is living in his present. We don't know what he's gonna be doing in 5 years. And as a woman that's dating, I want somebody that I can trust and that's gonna be at home and that's corny and that's God fearing and all that good stuff. You can't that's subjective. You can't call him corny. You don't know who were you with, homeboy. What does she look like, and what does your present girl look like? So no, get out of
I
here.
know one of the comments said, "Child is as Future. Is he the prize? Like, are you saying that he's really the prize? Like, is that what women sit up and say? You know what? I want to be the fifth baby mama to a man that has a different baby every other month." Because that's what Future does. He moves from chick to chick, has a kid, moves on, has a kid, moves on. So I'm sure that if Sierra could do it all over again, she probably wouldn't have.
She wouldn't have stopped.
She probably wouldn't have had a kid with Future, but that was just one of those learning lessons in life. But I think it's one of those things where she knew better, she did better.
Miss Carter?
I think once you have a baby, that changes things. I think Future has an appeal when you're single and you're young and, ooh, this is fun. And we think, and you know how sometimes people think that it's not like real love if it's not a little chaotic. He seemed like he's a little chaotic. But I think once you have a fun chaotic nonetheless, but I think once you become a mom, like all that changes and you want stability. So if they're saying stability is corny, then sign me up. But I agree with you, like corny that's subjective. We've never seen him do anything lame. Like he makes money, he sits in his wife's TikToks and her IG. Like what did he do to be lame? Like not beat people, not have multiple baby mamas? What? I don't understand.
I think it's corny when society looks at the bad boy being the fun guy, right?
Right.
So we see Russell Wilson get up and thank God and praise his family. They be like, "Oh, he corny. He just doing that because he corny." No, how do you not know that this man just wants to get up and thank God and his wife?
Let me put CJ comment back up because that's the bottom line. The dude is hating.
Bottom line.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's it. Yeah.
Let's see what he goes. Dude just hating because he ain't in Russell's position.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would imagine so. And what even gave him the liberty to be able to make a comment?
Who are you?
Yeah.
That's what I was wondering. Who is this guy really? Is he just a random guy?
I think he wants to be relevant. And he said something, and people were like, "Wait, what? Who are you to even say anything like that?" But
this is his podcast.
Yes, it's Pivot.
Oh yeah, okay. That's all I need to know. He's trying to sell some newspapers.
Yeah,
but then he said that she only went with him because he got money. She got her own money.
Right.
Exactly. And that's what I said. I said, if we were talking about Sierra came back, what was the early 2000s? She's been relevant since then. And
she's still selling milkshakes, or is that somebody else?
That's Khalees.
That's Khalees.
Now it's the milkshake place.
Good night.
Good and night.
She was bringing
all the boys
my goodies. She was doing
my goodies. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah. Hilarious.
All right.
Next story I have is Lee Daniels finally apologized to Monique.
Yes, I
What?
saw that.
So yes, so this was
About what?
well, they've been feuding since Precious
Henry,
came
tell
out.
us.
It's been what, 13 years or something?
Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
13-year feud. When Precious came out, he got upset with her and because she wasn't going out on the promotional tours
Yeah.
and promoting the movie, and she said that he blackballed her basically. And she also said it was Tyler Perry, Oprah, and Lee
Uh-huh.
Daniels. So Lee Daniels, she had a stand-up show this weekend, and he came out on stage and apologized to her in public, basically just telling her that he got in he was in his bag and he started thinking too much of himself, and he probably should have had her back because that was actually his best friend in this industry. And he apologized to her. He said, "We about to do it again." So it's already talks of them doing a Netflix movie together after this. And the caption in this picture was like, "She just loves us." She said, "I love us for real." But she got emotional. She cried a lot on stage because
Yeah, because
all
she's
she
been
was
having to
wanting,
defend her word on
Right.
that.
she has all she wanted was an apology. So it opened up the gates because now they saying Tyler Perry, Oprah, where y'all at? Because y'all were right, y'all had his back in it. So where are y'all at? But he said they're gonna do it again. That he just apologized and just wants their friendship back. So they will be doing some more roles together, which is good because I think reconciliation is always good, right? So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that Chris Rock and Will Smith can maybe reconcile one day.
I don't think so.
So did they ever say why she wasn't available for the
But
tour?
I never heard why she wasn't promoting it. But I want to say around that time, didn't Monique have those twins?
I think she did, and she
Or
said
they
something
were
about,
super young?
yeah, and she said something about spending time with family.
Yeah, I think that's where
Mhm.
her focus was kind of on her kids and her husband at the
Right.
time. But my thing is also with that, when you put out a movie, part of that is promoting the movie. So I don't know. I didn't understand that. I feel like it's more to the story with stuff that
Yeah.
happened
It
behind
may
the
be.
scenes. Maybe it's money, because money is by.
Or maybe it's like A-Trap said, he stole a pork chop.
Mhm.
Hey, that wouldn't be the first black family that broke up over pork chops. I
I
promise you.
mean, but I thought it was a good moment to see them on stage, kind of buried the hatchet with this whole thing. So we'll
Mhm.
see. And 50 Cent wants credit for putting this together because he put out there a couple weeks ago that
I
they
swear.
need to go ahead and apologize to her because
Yeah.
he about to put her in some movies or some shows or whatever. But
Yeah,
my
well,
thing,
she acted her ass off in Precious. I know
Yes,
she
she
that.
sure
did.
did.
And
But
that was the
but
last time you seen on the big screen too.
Uh-huh.
and that might have been the last movie my mama went to because we went to that movie all together, and it was taking a long time for the movie to come
What
on.
she
And
say?
we were sitting there during the
The
previews and stuff,
previews.
and Mama was already getting sleepy because it was 9 something. She goes, "Precious need to bring her big ass on in the middle of the theater."
Yes, she did.
Oh, that's right, A-Trap. Now I remember that she did say she didn't want to promote for free,
Oh,
Okay,
so that was
okay,
her time.
okay.
but you gotta
But most actors see that as that's part of the
that's part
deal,
of
right? You're the more eyes on that film, the more likely that it's going to do
you gonna get
well, and
paid.
if it
Yeah,
does well, then you're going to get more roles, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
yep. And now after that, you only saw her on reruns of The Parkers. But
Yeah.
hopefully,
Wow.
True.
hopefully
And
this
defending
will
herself on
bring
talk
her back.
show.
Because I think Monique does well, and I think she did really well in Precious. So I
She
think
did.
this will maybe put her back in her bag. Hopefully,
And
let's
Mhm.
I
go.
wonder what Steve Harvey had to say about it because he brought her on at one time trying to get her to squash it,
Yep,
Yeah.
you know,
he did. And I
and
mean, she
she
went
did
on
not.
a
She
whole.
wouldn't.
But the thing is, she didn't promote that movie, but she went on a whole tour promoting the beef. You
Yeah.
promoted the
Oh
beef because
yeah.
you stopped at the Breakfast Club. You talked to Steve Harvey. You were on different radio stations.
And you
So
did that for the free. Get
that
on.
was for the free. It was.
Yeah, because it's important when we're trying to get our own message out there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you, Lee, for the streets are talking.
Quite.
So, Miss Carter, tell me what's the difference between the way you talk to your spouse versus how you talk to your friend?
God dog.
Mm.
Really nothing.
Okay.
I tell him more. I mean, they can't know all my business, but nothing.
Do you
It's
say bitch?
oh no, he doesn't like that. But I have hit him with the girl. Sorry,
Girl.
Yes.
baby. So I guess that is the difference. I don't hit him with the B word. He don't like
Right.
it. He
Right.
don't like
Mhm.
it.
Yep.
Okay. So you talk to him basically the same way as you talk to your friends. Now, knowing that, have you not come across, or you of the realization that men don't like a lot of those extra details, right? You
Yeah.
know, he wants you to get to the point. So
Real quick.
how did you establish those boundaries?
So if it's a story where I feel like I have to tell the whole story, I'll tell him, hey, I gotta say everything for this story. He'll say,
Yeah.
okay. If it's a story where I can just boom boom get to it, I just get to it for him.
Hmm. Okay. Now, did it take some time to get to that point, or did you just
No, it was some trial and error. Cause there are some days, so I'm a therapist, right? So I talk to people
Mhm.
all day. So there are some days I just want to give you the punchline of the story. I don't want to go back and forth like I'm tired. But then there are other days I may have had a light day. I want to tell you the whole thing. And so it was trial and error for both of us, for him to understand that it won't always be a long story, but it won't always be a short story. And then me to just preface it for him so he knows what he's in for.
Yeah.
Okay, Lily, do you talk to Brandon the same way you talk to your friend?
I think I agree with what she said, kinda. But sometimes he's the same. I don't want a long drawn out story, or you'll be hype about something, and then when you tell him you expect for him to be hype, and he not, he like okay,
I ask for it.
I know
I say,
that
I'm gonna
feeling.
need you to fake it for me. I need you to be up here with me.
and he'd be
I
like,
ask for it.
I'll be like, and this is what happened. Wasn't she wrong? And he'd be like, it really wasn't that serious. I'm like, what? I don't own it. I just told you it wasn't that serious. But that's kind of how we even each other or balance each other out. Because sometimes I'll be like, oh no, I had to go there. He'd be like, yeah, you probably did too much.
Nikki, do you talk to Ken the same way you talk to your friend?
No, I don't, because he don't, a lot of the details, he don't want to hear all the details either. But I do talk to him differently than I do with my friends. But the one thing that Alicia was saying about when you come home and you want to tell him something, or when he gets home and you tell him stuff, he'll look at me like, you got to just let it roll off your back, or to him it's not a big deal at all, but
Mhm.
for me it's a big deal. So he
Mhm.
tries to talk me down too and let me know that it's really not a big deal.
Okay,
Just
so
let it go.
LaToya, navigate that. What advice would you give to men that, because that's probably the case more often than not, where the
Yeah.
woman's gonna come to something and it's not really to him, it ain't
He
shit.
don't care about it.
To
Yeah.
her,
At
it's
all.
life
It's
altering.
everything.
So how does the husband navigate that? Because again, you are very keen on a person needing to be heard,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
what advice would you give to the husbands on how to deal with that sort of thing?
So I think there has to be understanding of, is this a long story or a short story? Get that understanding up front so that everybody on the same page.
Hmm.
And then even if he feels like it's not that big of a deal, validate and then say, but baby Mav did too much. But
Mhm.
Yeah.
validate first. Like I hear
Yeah.
you, I understand why you
Yeah,
was upset, or dang, they did you like that. That was wrong. But I think
that's
you may
true.
have
So
done too
when
much.
there's secrets and lies, and you saying to lie, did it validate sound
I
like
didn't
lie
say
to me?
lie. I said
When
validate.
you say
I didn't say lie. I said validate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Validate means I can see why you're upset. Okay, I see that upset you.
there
Yeah.
you
Okay, I
go.
see that
I
you're mad.
see
That
that it
sounds good.
upset you, not why it upset you. I see that
Right.
upset you.
I see that.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
like
get him
That's
some
you feel a
good.
tricks
way
of the
about
trade.
it.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they don't have to lie.
Yeah, don't lie. Just validate. Like, ooh, you feel some type of way about that. Okay, I see. But then if they think you did too much, like you with this person, you married them, so you
Mhm.
trust their
Right.
opinion.
You
Here's the thing:
Right.
they
should.
say you
You
did too
should.
much,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Like, cause sometimes we do too much.
Yep. Sometimes we do.
And is
Mhm.
that doing too much the reason why the side chick is there? So the wife's guide to beating,
Ooh,
the
That
wife's
was,
guide.
that was a
Well, see,
transition.
I'm a professional.
I
The,
hated that transition. I don't like that segue at all.
it don't matter.
See?
It's effective. The wife's guide to beating the side chick. What made you write this book first?
Wow.
Okay, so I used to be obsessed with reality TV. And at the time that I wrote this, that's when Peter, Tyra, and
Oh
Amina from
my.
Love and Hip Hop, it was when they was first coming out. So I was also like postpartum. The job I had was trash. Like it just was a lot going on in my life. But then also the backdrop to the world was I felt like side chicks was getting too much attention. Like it's not about them, it's about us. What about us? And so as a wife, it's just really my love letter to wives because it is a lot. It's work. It is a ministry. It is a full-time job. And nobody at the time was really talking about all the things that go into being a wife. The communication, the putting him first, the serving, the sex, like self-care. Nobody was really talking about all the things that go into being a wife. So that's why I wrote it. It's like what I wish I had. Because we did premarital counseling through the church. Like, and my pastor in my hometown, he was great. And he talked about the Bible and Eve and blah, 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 and all this. But then when it came to my real life, I was like, feel like we kind of missed some things. I'm struggling.
So let me ask you this. Who would you suggest this book for? Should it be the woman who has already been infiltrated by the side chick in her relationship? Or can they use this as a preventative? Or can they use this as a get over it or get through it? How would you suggest that people use this?
I think I think everybody. I think all the wives, right? I'm hoping that you got it before so that you can love on you in a way that makes it easier to love on him. But if you didn't, because I'm not of the mindset that it's all her fault. Like, and I think sometimes people think that's what this is, and it's not.
Meaning all the side chicks' fault?
Yeah, because she's not married to me.
She has no commitment to you.
That's right. That's
hopefully
true.
she don't know me now. If she know me, it might be a little bit different. But she don't know me. She doesn't owe me anything. You do, because you said I do to me. So it's not like we're bashing her, right? And so this is just like there are people always say marriage is hard, but they never tell you why it's hard.
Right.
I'm telling you why it's hard. I'm talking about how we got this new baby, my edge is falling out, and you still want to have sex, and I don't feel pretty. Like, what we supposed to do now, right? Like, we talk about that. We're talking about, like, there was a time my husband made a comment to me, and it just crushed me. And I didn't have the language to say, this is why you hurt me, this is da-da-da, because he's not mean. I don't think he did it maliciously, but that's how I took it. You know what I mean? And so giving examples on how to communicate, giving examples on what to ask, how to love better, but also take care of yourself. All that's in the book.
All right, where can we get copies of that book? The Wife's Guide to Beating the Side Chick. Where can we get that book at?
It's definitely on Amazon, but if you want an autographed copy, you can go to my website, LaToyaTheTherapist.com.
Okay. Which one do you make more money at, going directly to your site or the web? Amazon?
Of course.
Okay, so we're going to go directly to your site. What's the site again?
LaToyaTheTherapist.com.
All right, I'm gonna probably need about 10 copies because I need to give them out to some folks.
Got you.
That's part of the interview process.
My husband's best friend said whoever they next, it's required reading for them.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you this.
Like it's required.
Hey, you might want this. Read it if you want to, but I'm just saying.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
Did your husband read the book?
He did.
What was his take on it from the male perspective?
Yeah.
So my husband said, and I often think like, are you just saying this because we together? But he said it was really good. He said he didn't know the impact of like having children like as soon as you get married, because like we got married and then boom, I was pregnant. So he didn't realize the impact on that. He said there was parts of the communication that was super helpful for him because he wasn't mindful in his communication. So he said for him, the biggest takeaway was the communication chapter.
Okay.
Shoot, I don't know where I want to go because there's so many interesting factors. Let me ask about this. High functioning depression. What can you tell us about that?
It's a silent killer.
Yeah.
So high functioning depression is where you're still able to go to work, you still interact with friends, you're still doing your thing, but there's this like never ending low key depression that's just kind of with you. You feel it, you know something's off, there's a lack of motivation, you don't feel like you're reaching your potential, but you're still hitting all the check marks. And the reason I say it's a silent killer is because when you go, like a lot of times clinicians and doctors and stuff like that, they miss it. Because the first thing we say is, you know, how's it going? You out the bed, you went to work, you talking to friends, blah blah blah. So it's often missed because you can't really articulate it. People think depression is like Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh, or they think it's like laying in the bed eating ice cream, and that's not always what it is. It's the person next to you at work.
True.
Yeah, because you lactose intolerant. You ain't finna eat all that ice cream no damn way. A-Trap said the sad part is a lot of men assume that trying to have sex with you translates to you being sexy, and that's not all the case. That when I say that is a fantastic point, that guys are like, why can't you see what I see? You know, that's why I'm trying to, you know, come on. So how do you explain that? What should men know about that? How can we get that into our thick skulls? That just because she's sexy to you.
Yeah, just because you like what you see don't mean I like what I see.
That's
right.
right.
So asking, how can I help you to see what I see?
Right.
What is it that you need to see what I see?
Wow.
Especially if you go from like a woman who used to be smaller and then she has a baby and she don't lose her baby weight, that's a lot. Because you see, oh, my woman has evolved and given me this child, and she just see what happened to my body. So asking, what is it that you need? What are you struggling with? How can I help you? Because every woman is different. And so asking your woman how she wants to be supported is what's key.
Yeah.
Wow.
I like that.
Okay, so back in the day, women used to be told by their mothers, girl, keep your little money aside because you never know what's going to happen. Talk to us a little bit about that. Should women be keeping a nest egg?
So the woman in me is like, yes, girl, keep your nest egg. But the clinician in me is like, let's be open about it. Why? What's the fear? Why do you feel like you need a nest egg? Can you have a nest egg and he know about it? Is it still a nest egg if he knows?
If he knows,
but because if you have an account with just your name on it, it's a nest egg, right? But then he knows about it, so there's no secret, there's no hiding. I just feel like secrets erode trust. And if I found out that you had this nest egg, how am I gonna feel? I always try to look at it like that. Like, if he did this to me, how would I feel? Oh, thank you.
Yeah, he said, LaToya speaking facts. I'm watching this with my partners. We love her. And they probably drinking too, knowing CJ.
Yeah, because that comment about side chicks and married men go hand in hand. Don't think I didn't see that, CJ.
And don't be talking about our mama with them either.
A-Trap saying that this is going to be interesting because he thought about that nest egg situation because it used to be said quite a bit. So now that conversation. Go ahead, Mika. Go ahead. Anybody going to say something? Because I got to follow.
To me, and I totally agree with Toya. The woman in me is like, girl, keep you a few over here that he doesn't know about. But what's wrong with me if we have a joint account? But then I have my money. That shouldn't be a secret, right?
No.
I also think at the time when women were saying, when we were being taught that, women didn't have as much access as they do now.
Right.
Yeah.
Women didn't have as much money as they do now.
Yeah. Okay.
And the fear was he's going to leave you
with nothing.
High and dry.
No, let me say how they used to say. He's going to leave you ass out.
Literally.
Look at this fool trying to get on our good side. Now, we're my main chick material.
Let me tell you something, CJ.
All right, CJ.
Let me tell you something.
Hilarious.
That tickled me.
So that conversation about women keeping a nest egg either was facilitated or led to by this comment or this question financial abuse. What is financial abuse? Because we know all kinds of abuse in a relationship, right? There's obvious the physical abuse. We know the verbal abuse, but very rarely do you ever hear anybody talking about financial abuse. You may have been the first person I heard mention that on Marriage is Real. So tell me, what is financial abuse?
Short, like this cut dry definition is being emotionally manipulated through finance. But what that looks like is not being able to work and then the person hanging the money over your head. Well, if we want to have sex tonight, you can't get your nails done. Or you're working and putting all the money into their account that you don't have access to.
Well, Lily just went and got her nails done this past weekend. So
no, that's like
I said
really
Lily just went and got her nails done this past weekend. So I know she good over there.
I got my lashes done this past weekend.
Nails, hair, and everything.
Okay.
But no, I cut you off, LaToya. You say, what about that?
It's happening more than we think, just because no one's talking about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And we don't know what to look for. Like we know what it to look like when somebody cussing you out, calling you the B word, or smacking you in the face.
Right.
But when someone's controlling your money or controlling you with
your
money,
access to money,
Right.
That's financial abuse.
And sometimes it's not even their money that they're controlling; it's the household's money, because you're working, but it's going directly into the bank account, and he has the control over it because he's paying the bills or whatever the case may be. So now, generally, you think that basically, if that's how your household is ran, to where all your bills are going into one bank account, that each individual should have a certain amount of spending money, right? And that amount should be equal. Right, it shouldn't be, well, I'm gonna give you $200 a week on spending money, and I'm taking $400 a week. It should be in an equal amount, right?
But I also think that's where communication comes in. You have to make sure you're advocating for yourself, because if this person is saying, "I'm gonna take 4 and you take 2," and you say, "Okay, cool," then what?
That's on you.
That's on you.
That's true.
Okay. All right. Let's see. There's a couple of things, and again, I recommend that you go to LaToyaCarter.com. That's MRSTOYACARTER.com, because there are so many topics that I would like to ask her about, but we just don't have the time to do so. So she also talked about, what do you do when you are in a therapy slump? She also talks about what to do when your therapist offends you. And I'm going to go back to that one because that was super intriguing to me. And then she talks about big T trauma versus little t trauma. So let's talk about this therapist thing. First of all, I'm sure you're of the belief that most of us should be having some sort of therapy nowadays, right?
Yeah.
Is there a particular reason why you think we should be in therapy as a community?
I just think there's so much trauma that's not discussed. I think there are so many things underlining that having the space to work that out with a professional is invaluable. Everybody needs somewhere to put their things. I don't think that everybody needs ongoing therapy, but I think everybody should try once.
That's big.
See what's going on. Maybe you need 6 sessions and then you're good. And then you go back once a year if need be, or you don't go back. Everybody doesn't have to do it ongoing, but I think everybody should do it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, great. And so what about when your therapist offends you? Because again, we as a community, we all have talked about how this being a negative thing in our community, a negative stigma, which I think we're working out of it. I really do over the last decade or so, especially the last 5 years. We're talking about it more. It's becoming more acceptable in the mainstream. But one of the drawbacks to that has to be that when you go in, you're going in skeptical. So if this motherfucker say something wrong, it's going to be easy to offend, right? So what do you do if your therapist offends you?
As a therapist who has offended someone, I just wish they would have said something. Like, the very first thing is say that you're offended. Like, say something. Because I'm a human first. I have blind spots. I may say words incorrectly. I mean, I try really hard not to, but what if I do? Then what? How do I know if you didn't say anything? So the very first thing is to say something. Learn to speak up, advocate for yourself. Use it as a teachable moment. Check in with yourself. Why are you so offended by what this stranger said? Why did it hit you so hard? They don't know you. They don't pay your bills. They don't do anything for you. Why did this cut so deep? So do like some reflection for yourself. And then I mean, if it just doesn't work, it doesn't work. Like every therapist is not for everybody. Feel free to get another one. I tell people it's like dating. You kind of try it out and see. And I know for my clients, they either love me or hate me. You'd be hard pressed to find somebody to say, well, she was just all right. They either gonna be like, no, she was bomb, or they're gonna be like, I ain't like her at all, she's trash.
All right. So what should people be trying to find? Christian therapists if they're Christian, or does that matter?
If you want someone who's going to come from a biblical perspective, you want someone quoting scripture, you want someone praying before, during, and after, probably go seek that out. Yeah. I'm quoting Bible, Cardi B, I might cuss, I don't know. So, and I recognize that's not for everybody, but you have to seek out what you need.
That's for me.
I like you.
Yeah. I might hit you with a sis.
Yeah.
I just.
So, Mika, how does your therapist compare to LaToya?
I don't have one.
Okay, I'm just asking shit. Don't get mad at me.
And look, he realized.
Let me go on and tell you. I might be hollering at LaToya because there is nothing. Just like you get your car tuned up, your body tuned up physically, you better get your mind right. So, I would totally say I have a therapist because. It's not a trend for me. It's a way of life. So LaToya, I'll hit you up.
See, that's why. That's why I
have a couple things where I'm like,
okay.
That's why I have like 4 or 5 side chicks. Because every now and then you need a tune up.
That is not what we say here. But okay.
You said a tune up. That's what I thought about when you said. But needless to say, y'all can see why I wanted to have Toya on.
Yes,
right? And I think we've only scratched the surface of what she has to offer. Again, go to MissToyaCarter.com and look at all the things she has to offer. Go to that website and purchase that book. Okay, The Wife's Guide to Beating the Side Chick. You need to go purchase that book.
Do you have an office or how do you?
I do all mine virtual.
That's even better.
That's awesome. Okay.
So they can't swing on you when you say something.
Yeah, I worked in the prison and everything. Nobody has ever swung on me. I think they wanted to, but
Yeah, and I think LaToya is good enough. I've actually told her, and I will continue to move forward to try to figure out a way to get her on the air. In fact, I think I may have an idea. Toya. I really do. I really do. So you may be seeing her down the road on BS3 Network if I can help it. Because people like that, people like that is just, again, I want to make sure that they have a platform and for as far as BS3 Network is concerned, the more people with those dope perspectives that are out there that have seen the world in a different way, I think it's only better for our network, to be perfectly honest with you. And so now, Nikki, we're going to start with you with our final thoughts. We're going to give our final thoughts, and we'll let LaToya make sure people know where to get a hold of her and which social media platforms are best, and then we'll sign off. So, Nikki, it's on you. Final thoughts.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank you, LaToya, for being here with us today. I really thoroughly enjoyed you today. And I hope that you will have an opportunity to come back on the show again for some other topics. And I also would like to thank our family that's here every week for being here again down this week. Thank you guys for all the comments and all of the participation again this week. And I forgot to mention last week about the raffle that Keegan's Place is having. We still haven't finalized the date because a lot of the businesses have not yet began to give donations. Again, most of them are going to be starting in the summer. So I'm going to be staying on top of that and then trying to make sure that I give you guys the right information at the right time, concrete information. I don't want to just tell you anything when I don't have all the answers to the donate, for where the donations are going to come from and things of that nature. But we are definitely having it because we want to continue to bring awareness to mental health. And so I will definitely be.
Well, there you go. Miss Carter might want to donate a free session or something for your raffle.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Not to put on the spot, but
I do too.
It'd probably be a good idea not to turn us down on this TV right now.
I am nothing if I'm not authentic. But no, I'm into that. Just let me know what I need to do.
Okay,
Right,
thank
cool,
you.
cool. Andre Jones. Now this is a radio professional right here,
Yeah.
LaToya. He been in the business. He just retired from radio after 40 years. Okay,
Wow.
he's still in the podcast stuff and stuff
Yes.
like that. But he
He's
seconds
an
that. He
awesome
goes
guy.
definitely get her on. And
Awesome.
Wow. Thank
I
you. Thank
would
you.
have to agree. Yeah, that's high praise coming from that brother right there. All right, Mika, final thoughts.
Again, thanks to the audience. Thanks, LaToya. You're amazing. I love those little nuggets and little things that we can take with us, just to get better.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as my final thoughts, LaToya said a bunch of stuff. And but the word I'm taking away from it is communication.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the problems and a lot of things that we see can be stopped with simple communication at the beginning, during, and after we've gone through it. So yeah, I'm just telling the audience, communicate and don't be scared of what you hear back. You may not like it all, but
Right.
communication solves a lot of the problem. Thank y'all.
Lily.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This was another great show. I feel like I could listen to her all night. LaToya, thank you. You dropped so many jewels and had me also think of other perspectives that I maybe didn't think about before. So I definitely appreciate that. I just wanted to say that if you need any type of therapy, nothing wrong with that. I think LaToya is a great source for that. Like Mika said, I may have to hit up on the sideline and be girl, I got something to talk about, because I think a lot of us in our community, we have past traumas that we haven't dealt with, and we bring that into new situations and bleed on other people that did not have anything to do with that. So it's important for us to
I thought you didn't want to talk about Will Smith and Chris Rock. You
that
just
is not
did.
even at all what I was talking about.
Will Smith bled.
You just did.
But do you see how? But do you see how that we can use that in all auras of our life? But yes, I just want to thank LaToya for that. And just continue to kind of lift each other up. You never know. I think another part that you said was high functioning depression. And that was a big one for me, because I've experienced that to where you're like, oh, I'm good. But when you are by yourself, you're not good. And you're kind of left in those thoughts and feelings. So thank you for coming and joining us today.
Yeah, and I have some good news too. Speaking of that high functioning depression, and some of the ways that I use is that the VA Medical Center, the Veterans Administration, has just announced that they will start to prescribe medicinal use marijuana to veterans. So I'm finna get that government grade, baby.
Boy.
Oh, I can't wait. Great news out there.
Logo.
But to think that he was about to say something
I thought he was
real.
going to say something serious.
That's real.
Oh
What you
my
talking about?
gosh.
That's
Bye.
real. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. Miss Carter, your final thoughts, and tell everybody where they can get a hold of you at.
I just want to thank you all so much for having me and being so welcome. And thank you to your audience for being so engaging. I had an amazing time. Like, I love it here. Like, please ask me to come back so we can hang out. This was great. You can find me. My favorite social media is Instagram, LaToya the Therapist, but I'm everywhere at LaToya the Therapist. You can go to my website, LaToyaTheTherapist.com, and talk to me. I talk back.
Right on,
Okay.
right
Awesome.
on. Well, for me, again, obviously, thank you for for coming on, accepting our invitation. And when I saw you on Marriage is Real, I was in the comments before that show was over saying, you got to come on Queen3 King.
Yeah.
And I probably was in your DMs that night, saying, hey, holler at us, we need to get you scheduled. And, we appreciate it. And I'm sure I echo the sentiments of my sisters when I say, or I represent them when I say, it was just like having a family member here. You could fit in, you could come to any of our family gatherings and nobody would know you weren't family.
That's true.
They would think you were just part of our family. You would fit just right in, okay? They would probably think you one of my mama kids because we the smartest in the family. So they'd think you was...
They're going to cuss you out.
Very likely.
But anyway, so we really thank you for coming on. And for me, again, I remind everyone of the topic, and that is secrets and lies. And we have all talked about the importance of communication. And one thing that the next time we have you on, one of the pieces that I want to get into is that when your relationship was not founded on communication, okay, how do you get it going? Because everybody knows the importance, but now we in the middle of this. Some of us are down the road 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 years, and communication was not at our foundation, was not at our core. But in order for this thing to have any sort of remaining longevity or to make it from this point forward, we got to start communicating. So when we have you back on for Secrets and Lies Part 2, that's a piece that I want to get into. We'll also get into that little T trauma and big T trauma. Yeah. I thought you were talking about big T Bazaar when I first saw that. So we're going to talk about that. But again, I think communication is key. And as far as I'm concerned, my untrained opinion is that if you know your communication is poor in your relationship, just start talking about the fact that your communication is poor in that relationship, and we need to start having better conversation. Start there and get on the same page. Because I'm telling you, if y'all can find some common ground in your relationship, there is some hidden beauty in your relationship that you have not tapped into because you're not talking enough. So again, cut out all the secrets and lies, start talking, start communicating. Again, go to mrscarter.com. That's right. LaToyaCarter.com. Get the book, find out how to beat those side chicks, and we will see you next time on the next episode of Queen 3 and King.
Bye, family.
Are we smiling or what are we doing?
The Queen Bee has arrived.
You know. We'll show out then. So I'm gonna start with both of y'all's hands right here.
Look for my thumb.
Look for your thumb.
Like if you can see my thumb on this mic.